So, how many of you guys have a state affiliate Facebook page? I know you do. You guys do. I've seen your county does. Does your state?
Don't know.
How you doing? I know you guys do in Florida. I know New York has something that they're working on. Rich, do you guys use them? Do you guys use Facebook?
Yes.
And I know New Mexico just redid all of theirs. I know you guys have one.
Yes.
We spent the last year beating the heck out of each other. How many of you guys have Twitter for your state? I know that you're a big proponent of Twitter. We do. Texas does. Yeah? You got a name, but you're not doing anything with it? Do you know? Okay. I know OPF does. I'm sorry?
Wisconsin doesn't.
Wisconsin does not.
They
Okay.
don't have a Facebook page or a Twitter page.
Okay. Get one.
I believe, listen, we got Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube in our county, and our state party is behind technology.
Sure.
The average age is about 58.
Okay.
These cats aren't deep on technology.
That's cool. No problem. Is there anything anybody else is using? Obviously, YouTube is something. Right now, my focus is what are we doing in the places where people are?
Right.
Because when you look at a lot of the social media things that are out there that don't require an investment in camera work and time and video and all that, is there anything anybody else is using? Is anybody using Pinterest or Flickr, anything like that?
I'm blogging.
You're blogging? Okay. Everybody has email newsletters, right?
Yeah.
Okay, I just wanted to kind of get a gauge of where everybody is.
We have a LinkedIn group.
Does it have activity or is
10
it?
people on it. I mean, if we put more effort, we thought it would be good to get more professionals into the party.
Yep.
Like everything else, someone has to give it the time.
Right.
But we have a YouTube channel that needs videos.
Sure. I think everybody.
Feel free to steal mine if you
all of us
like.
have YouTube
I think a lot about
channels
everything
that we
YouTube.
So my focus is for you guys that are coming in. Obviously, we have a Facebook page, which is good. I think every state except Wisconsin is working on that concept, and there are some that are excelling. I know Indiana has done very well. Texas has done very well. North Carolina has done very well. Georgia's done very well. Florida has been doing very well recently, I've noticed. This is just something that I'm keeping track of internally for me, for my purposes, because I kind of like being, the second biggest affiliate in terms of Facebook fans, and we're going where people are. And that's why my main focus is going to be kind of Facebook and Twitter and how you can utilize those. I can go into the other stuff too, but right now I want to focus on where we are. And one of the things that I found to be successful is rather than having one person kind of admin it, if you actually build a team and give direction about kind of what their roles are. In Georgia, we have somebody whose sole responsibility is posting on Facebook. We also auto-post to Twitter, which is a very easy thing to do. It's a very easy setup. It's just having the Twitter app. All of your stuff goes out automatically. We actually have somebody who augments what we're auto-posting from Facebook. Their focus is Twitter, the interactions, when people are at replying and direct messaging, when they're not spam and direct messages and things like that, where it's an actual engagement strategy. We have somebody that does that. We also have somebody who works on our blog. We haven't really put a whole lot of work into it, but he's actually the publisher of a newspaper in Georgia, Southwest Georgia, and we also have somebody whose focus is our email newsletter. And essentially what we use is a closed, private, secret Facebook group where we just bounce these things so that everybody that's involved, our chair is on there, our vice chair is on there, I'm on there, the entire new media team is on there, so that when we're looking at links, we're looking at pictures that we want to share, we're looking at memes that we're putting out there, we're all looking at them, and kind of if you get 3 likes within the group, it's suitable for posting. And usually they just kind of claim it in the comments. And that's one way that we've been able to organize from a very spread out, not top down, not centralized, but a very diverse, because, like I said, we've got one guy in Southwest Georgia, got one girl in Northeast Georgia, 2 of us are in Atlanta, one guy's kind of in the middle of the state. So it's a good way for us to just talk about it. And it makes it really easy for you to share from your cell phone. Now, I'm going to talk about Facebook first. How many of you on Facebook are using content that your state party is providing and sharing? Do you have a team of people that are doing that? You guys are?
We have several people who post stuff.
But I mean, are they clicking share from LP New Hampshire to their personal network? Or even just likes? I mean, you don't have to...
Yeah, it's haphazard, but we've got, if someone posts a good article or about a candidate or some news that people are sharing it, not as much as they should, but...
Okay.
It's about network. It's about that hierarchy network.
Yep.
We've got to find a way where we say, look, when this comes out, post it and run it down that. Let me ask you a quick question.
Yes.
So you're saying on Facebook, we can set it up so that it can only, so that when we reply, it doesn't go to our Facebook, it stays closed within that community?
Yeah, it's a secret group, and you just invite the people that you want to have interact.
Because we're using Yahoo groups. Anybody use that?
Yeah.
It's a mess. It's a mess.
And it's crap.
As soon as one person sets a message, and then it starts filtering, and it layers them in. And and it doesn't put things in chronological order.
Well, that's all just sorting. You can do
Yeah,
that.
that's
But it's clunky and it's not clean to just pull on.
You can easily thread stuff on the...
Well, I'm liking this Facebook because what we're usually doing is we're discussing a press release or a news article that we're going to write something on. In fact, the fact of the matter is,
You need to talk to Matt because they actually use
Facebook
it.
groups for
That's
so
their
many things.
central committee.
That's where we
That's where they talk about
all right,
it.
I want to talk to you about
Rather
that
than an
because we've
email
got a
list.
lot of dysfunction in our state
We
amongst
probably
getting
have
things done.
8 or 9 different unique secret groups that we use to talk
Secret
amongst each
on
other.
Facebook.
Well, secret because no one can see it.
Right.
To
Close.
discuss different committees and leadership and yeah, it's really
Do
works
you
really
find
well.
that easier?
New Mexico just changed from Yahoo to, we were using Yahoo to do our communications and to do a lot of our even open discussions.
Mhm.
And we just had stuff all over the place.
Right.
And we've got a new communications person who's
Good.
come in and with the
Consolidated
webmaster is starting to consolidate it, and I can tell you that we're not using it to its full efficiency yet, but it is better already because we have the secret groups and we can discuss things as an executive committee or as a full central committee. But the one thing that's not happening yet, because you asked the question, is that things aren't getting shared efficiently.
Okay.
So that's something I like.
So that's your next thing.
Yeah.
All right, so when you have that group, you have an amazing opportunity to talk about when things are happening. Facebook has made it really easy for pages to schedule things. I mean, right now, my person who handles Facebook is in New Orleans, and the only thing she has is her cell phone. So she's not going to be sharing a lot. But before she left, she asked us to provide, a pretty significant amount of content just to keep things going. And within our new media group, which is a secret group, where anybody that's a part of it can add cool things that they find. The best part about the new media group is those are the people who like absolutely everything that the state party posts.
Right.
And usually we have a pretty good idea. We're kind of on a schedule, and I'll talk about a schedule for kind of how those posts should happen. But we have a generalized, during the day they happen this frequently. During the evening they happen more frequently. And I'll talk to you a little bit about, like I said, the schedule will be a little bit later. But I know no matter what, within 30 minutes of something being posted by the state party, everybody in that group, and there are now 11 people, but I know that everybody will get to it within half an hour. Most of us will get to it just to like it. If it's something that we're really pushing, we'll post the link to it in the group so that we know that this is something we want everybody to share. And that's how we use that group in a way that is going to work to help get that critical mass, because you'll notice it's the things that take off quickly really explode. And that's part of the algorithm of what's going on. I don't know if you guys know kind of how the formula for Facebook works. It's not an exact science. They keep changing because they don't want anybody to game it. I've done a pretty good job of kind of keeping up with what's going on. And if you look at the content. Now they're giving preferred content. I don't know if you guys have noticed that, where they give preferential treatment to more engaging, interactive things. They give preferential treatment to images. They give preferential treatment to plain statuses over a status with a link. They give preferential status to videos that are up there because their whole thing is to drive traffic. And so if you are doing things that are getting people to come to your page, which is good for you, it's good for Facebook because they can show more ads, they can show more sponsored posts, they can really dictate what happens on that right side of Facebook, and they can customize it as people are interested in you and see what you're doing, they're going to be able to make money on it. And so this is our opportunity to use it for an advantage. Yes, sir.
So the model we have is we have a Facebook group and a Facebook page.
Yes.
Is that what you're talking about?
I'm talking about, yeah, we actually have, 6 or 7 groups that are secret.
I'm not even talking about secret. I'm just talking about, like, because you talk about, okay, this is the stuff the party's doing. Do you put that on your LP Georgia page?
Everything is on the page.
Okay.
We don't have, yeah, we don't use the groups because they are ranked lower in terms of being seen. They have a lower visibility. Because the idea is with a group that, it's only going to be the people in that group that are really getting it, and if you share it is when you start to see where it blows up. But we use groups for a secret perspective, and I'm just using the terminology of Facebook. It's not like a transparency thing where we're trying to hide it, but it helps us to talk about things, to decide whether something is worthy of posting, to decide if this is something we really want to push. This is going out, this is scheduled for 11:10 a.m. on Friday. Can you make sure that, everybody in this group is sharing that, before noon?
Is this an appropriate place to ask a question about the process that you guys use for putting together your press releases, who audits, who edits, and who approves, or how you approve?
That's probably a little outside of...
Is that going to cover any of the sessions here?
We didn't do anything for press.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
That's okay.
The media one will help a little bit. The getting media covered.
If I hadn't taken the step to create the response to the governor's budget, it would not have been done.
Right.
I've now since tried to get 2 press releases, and it's nobody's.
We're working.
So that's why I'm looking for these ideas.
We're working out that right now. Actually, he and I have to sit down and figure out how we want to do it for North Carolina.
To pick up.
Yeah, we do press releases and stuff like that. Some media do so.
That's why you have to blog. Ladies and gentlemen, the future truly is blog. Blog. Because the papers aren't going to pick it up, and if they do, it's got to be something truly newsworthy. Just beating up, for example, on ours, they just wanted to beat up the governor over our Department of Workforce Development wasted, $16 million to make 200 jobs or something like that in a year. And they wanted to make this all about that. Well, look what the money was wasted. Ladies and gentlemen, they've already pointed it out. That's not a press release we're going to get anything on. So I went back to my response to the governor, which says he has no clue. The economy's slowing down. He's going to have a reduction in federal dollars. And nobody understood that the difference between what's worthy to be printed, my background is in marketing communications, and in actual content commentary that they would want to pick up. It's got to be something nobody else is saying. It's got to be striking. It's got to be real. It's got to be something that people can connect with. And just saying, hey, look, we saw that they did this too. This is the irresponsibility. That's not going to get you in the paper. You can do that on the blogs, and the blogs will do it. And we've got a huge, if you haven't, the patches, anybody use a patch?
Yeah.
That's another great social media.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. That's something that I want to talk about if it's good, if it's something
You should go to Carla's Game teaches you how to bold statements that get people's attention.
What does?
Carla's Game?
Who's Driving Game?
Definitely, you can even use that stuff for press release.
What is this?
It's a game Carla made up called Who's Driving. She's got 2 sessions of it.
Huh? I think that's the 1:30.
That's at 1:30.
So
Definitely.
1:30.
Anyone who does media work should go to that. It's a great exercise.
So to kind of get back to where we were with Facebook, I wanted to kind of, like I said, Indiana is really the model for, I took what they use for their central committee and brought that out and focused really on various parts of what LP Georgia does. Whether it's new media, whether it's the officer team, whether it's this, that, or the other. We have 6 or 7 of those groups. But our main focus is the reason we use Facebook to do so much is because people are already there. And I wanted to point out when you talked about blogging, people have to get to your blog.
Yes.
But people are already on Facebook.
Right, and you can
And
the
you
nice
can
thing
link to it,
about
and-
blog is you
Right.
link it into your Facebook and continue to drive it through your social media.
Right. Now, the thing that you're going to want to do is rather than have some kind of auto post to Facebook, that traffic is valued lower. So if you use a MailChimp newsletter and it auto posts to Facebook, that traffic is ranked lower than if you took a link to the, to your online archive
Right.
and put it in. That one's going to be ranked higher because you're actually doing it on Facebook. They rank that traffic higher than
Okay.
the auto post stuff.
I remember
You
that
never want to go from like a Twitter or LinkedIn to Facebook.
Mm-hmm.
You would want to use Twitter as more of a broadcast because there is so much and the noise to signal ratio is much larger on Twitter because there is just such a volume and there's so many applications that are auto posting and they're putting things out there. That can be the one that gets auto posted to because they don't rank traffic. It's all about real time, what's happening,
Right.
whether you did it from your phone, whether you did it from the website, whether you did it from an application, whether you use Hootsuite to schedule it or whatever. Twitter doesn't rank
Right.
your content now, at least right now they don't. But Facebook does. And we're talking about the website that's doing more traffic than Google. That's, it's the number one, and it has been now for 14 months, where it is the number one website in the world without China, because they have their own kind of
Right.
thing, and India has their own. So you don't have the worldwide audience, but we don't need that because we're looking at politics,
Right.
hopefully locally within our state. I talked earlier about images being given a higher preference. I think that's something that we really do need to work on as libertarians. I know that we're very wordy. We are very verbose in in the issue that we're trying to communicate about. We would rather have 3 paragraphs about something than an image that has, 1 sentence. But the 1 sentence thing is going to be shared 100 times more than the 3 paragraphs.
See, but that's why I like utilizing YouTube and then linking it in, because people are already visually trained that that's where they get the information from.
That's
They're not going to read a 3-paragraph, but they'll watch a 3-minute video. And I know that most of us don't have that skill or that ability, but the beauty of all of our media is that if you have a simple script and you can speak quickly and easily to the ideas, you can then post it. And I find that that's a better way for us to build that recognition, and it builds over time.
What's interesting in how people are looking at content that they're sharing and they're liking and they're engaging on Facebook, I could take a quote from Thomas Jefferson, let's say, and I could use that as a status, and I will get about half the eyeballs, as if I made an image, which should be, just so you guys know, 602 pixels by 602 pixels is your ideal Facebook image while I'm thinking about that. I can make an image that is literally black text on a white background, and it will be seen by twice as many people. Just because it's an image, it's a little bit larger than the type that you're seeing. They're more likely to share it. Facebook is ranking that traffic higher.
I think it's even more than double. I mean,
Oh,
looking at our stats,
absolutely.
I'd say on images, we're averaging probably 8 to 10 times the reach.
Yep.
Than-
Oh, really?
Than like a link.
Yeah.
But usually your status, though, if it's just a plain status with no link to it, that's a little bit higher than your link stuff.
Yeah, I've talked with Arvin, who does the LP National Facebook media.
And he and I have worked
And
really.
he says, they've done,
Yep.
him and John Jay have done some great, it's the picture meme.
Yep.
And that, we're getting memberships out of that, tens of thousands of shares. It's really, is it still true that more pictures are posted to Facebook than status updates?
Yes.
Which
I've
was-
got some friends that it's all they do.
Because it's so easy to click share on that. It's a lot
Well,
harder
even
to click share.
people do it. Facebook has become
Yep.
a picture
Yep.
social media.
And that comes to my next thing about what happens on Facebook. And we talked about doing stuff that's engaging. We talked about having fun. I think we talked about that a little bit. one of the biggest things that I found to get people to come to an event is not so much that we're posting that we have a Facebook event. I think I was talking to Pat and Caroline this morning about it a little bit. You were talking about the Facebook event for the upcoming launch 2014, right?
It's for a forum.
Okay, for a forum. All right. So now you do the Facebook event, which I think is a great idea because you can have people that are inviting other people. It's something that's going to be posted on your Facebook page. It's going to be there in the events, the little boxes until they change the format again for timeline for pages, where all of that will go away. So don't focus on those 4 things because those are going to go away when they move pages to the new timeline. But when you have an event like that, have somebody whose sole job at that event is to take pictures of the people that are there. And the reason that, and Rupert is a good person to talk to about this because they did this very well with their campaign.
And Troy did great on it.
Troy did a fantastic job with their social media where they were taking pictures of, say, an event like this. All right, well, we'd have a picture of this side of the room. And maybe we'd do one of this side of the room. And then maybe we'd get one with Jeff and Rich in the back where they're in a discussion. And we get one where Aaron's really listening to what I'm saying. And it makes it look like this was a huge event because we're getting little pieces here, little pieces there. We're not posting, just, hey, it's me posing with so-and-so. It's people that are actually actively engaged in the event that's going on, even if it's a business meeting. And then you post those pictures to your Facebook page after. And you say, hey, for example, Thursday night I did a forum about Asian Americans in politics. And we took pictures like crazy. There was only one of me in it. Even though I was on the panel, there was only one. There was the 4 of us together, and we posted that. But you put that up there where you're talking about the things that you're doing. People see that you're active because one of the biggest complaints that I hear is, well, you guys don't do anything. How can I find out about what's going on? We keep saying get involved, get involved, get involved. And I can have all the cute sayings I want about, things like, if you're not sitting at the table, you're what's on the menu, which is the thing that I tell people about getting involved. But you actually have to show them, look, we've got this coming up. For example, on June 1st, I know I've got a volunteer day that's going to be focused on an outreach booth setup and execution, and the steps that people need to be taking as volunteers for that outreach booth. And it's 2 hours out of their day. We're going to do video of it. We're using the how not to do a libertarian outreach booth video that I'm sure everybody's seen, with David Nolan from, gosh, that's probably 20 years ago that they shot that. And we're using that to help promote the event. Then we're going to be using the video for the people who couldn't make the event so that they can see some of the things that we're doing. And we're having pictures of what's going on so people know, hey, they had an event. That's a whole bunch of content that you can use. Now, the one thing I caution you about with your self-generated content is don't put too much of a focus on your own stuff. Don't be afraid to share other people's stuff. Mm-hmm. And if you want the golden ratio for that, for your most effective, it's 10 things that somebody else has generated for every one thing that you're doing. So you have, let's say I'm working on my Hispanic outreach, so I'm doing Spanish language stuff, and this is where I saw the biggest bump in when I saw that this was being effective for Georgia, because we don't have any other Spanish language outreach but Facebook, online kind of stuff. And that's how I knew that it was working, because we were starting to get Hispanic last names joining the party because of just a meme that we posted on Facebook that showed that we were interested in having people that speak a language other than English as their primary getting involved. And so that's how I know, that's my self-generated content. But let's say Young Americans for Liberty had a great quote that they did. Let them do the work.
Right.
And we can just share it. Even if you're downloading it and you're putting it up as your own post, you're still sharing their content. They're still getting eyeballed on it. But you're sharing somebody else's stuff, and you're not all about me, which is going to turn everybody off. As a marketing guy, you got to know if you're only talking about you, you're going to turn off. If you were at casino night last night and you're a guy who sells refrigerators, if you had stood in the corner all night long and said, hey, I sell refrigerators. I sell refrigerators. Hey guys, over here, I sell refrigerators. How many people would have gone up to the refrigerator guy? We were too busy with other stuff. Now, he would have been more effective if he had been sitting at the poker table, talking about using the other things that are going on. If he had been at the craft, well, I don't even remember. I just played poker last night, but there were a couple other things that were going on. And if he had engaged in conversation, he'd talk to other people about kind of the things that they were interested in. And this is one thing that, not just from a marketing perspective, but from a libertarian perspective, I'm not real good at listening to other people. I mean, you guys are doing a great job, but we really like to talk. I like to talk, but you guys are doing a great job of listening.
That sharing thing, I noticed, I've seen it more on Twitter than Facebook, but if you share other people's stuff, they start paying attention to you.
Oh yeah.
And you start
Yeah.
getting the trickle, it
I'll
starts
get
trickling
to-
in.
And we've never had more material available to us at a higher
Oh.
level of quality than ever
Yeah.
before. I mean, if we're not posting everything the Learn Liberty channel at the very least is putting out there, we're missing. I mean,
Well, you also have fantastic stuff coming from Freedom Works. You have Young Americans for Liberty. I mean, these are guys that they're hiring graphic artists to
Yeah.
create this stuff. Fee is doing a great job with their.
Demonocracy's got
Yep.
great
There's
visuals.
just so much that you can put out there, and we don't have to create it. We can just share it. And then when you are sharing, the forum, a link to the forum on lptexas.org, it just looks like it's another post on there. It's not one of those, hey, me, refrigerator salesman, because you are doing so much other stuff that's shareable. Vicki.
I'd like to give credit to our Secretary Lynn House for dramatically escalating our Facebook
Yep.
activity.
Yep, she and I talked a little bit about how to work that
She has
in.
a lot of time. She gets up at 4 in the morning and she spends like 12 hours a day, I think.
Wow.
And she's a longtime libertarian, as you know. She used to be active in Alaska.
I can tell you it doesn't take that kind of a commitment. It doesn't take 12 hours a day. Because I
Unless
can.
you're addicted to it.
Well, yeah, I mean, if you're addicted to it, but when you set up that group, you can all be sharing this content, and then maybe you spend 45 minutes scheduling a day's worth of posts. Now, I want to give you that schedule that I talked about. Now that we're talking about scheduling posts and how you can be most effective. And I want you to think about this in a local time, but here's the caveat, also consider East Coast time. Social media, for some reason, is driven by whatever's happening on the East Coast. Whether it's American Idol starting at 8 o'clock, I don't know, I don't watch the show. Let's say it's at 8 o'clock. 8 o'clock Eastern is 7 o'clock Central, is 6 o'clock Western, or Mountain. And then Pacific they have their own, 8 o'clock Pacific. So you're working on it, but if you give a preference to the time on East Coast, you're going to get people from outside your state. I know that Indiana has a lot of people from outside. Georgia has a ton of people. I know Texas has several. I know New Hampshire does because there are people who are interested to find out about free state stuff. I know Florida has a lot of folks, but most of their people are actually in Florida. So give a preference to the times that I'm about to tell you. All right, so in a typical day, you'll see that the LP Georgia Facebook posts between 8 a.m. and 6 p.m. every hour and a half to 2 hours.
Whoa, one more time.
From 8 a.m. to 6 p.m., we post every 90 minutes to 2 hours. People are at work. Hopefully they're working. They have emails to keep up with. But if you focus on, you get that first in the office post. So that's why I say start at 8 to, you get that first one that's between 8 and 9. It says people are getting to the office, is going to show up in their feed. Then you have a mid-morning where everybody takes their trip to the water cooler, makes their coffee break, whatever. They come back to their desk before they get back into work. You got another one in mid-morning. Hopefully that's something that they like and share. And then you're going to want to get them when they come back from lunch. So if you kind of use those, and then you'll have the mid-afternoon break. That's why it's about an hour and a half to 2 hours. Because we're just trying to get when we think people are going to be on. And that's the easy stuff. That's for your traditional 9-to-5 schedule, which is still a majority of people working are on a Monday through Friday, kind of 9-to-5 schedule. Not strictly to that, but for the most part, you have people that, whether it's 8 to 4, 9 to 5, 10 to 6, whatever, That's kind of the window, yes.
So if you don't have the ability to lay up a facilitated individual to do this,
Yep.
and then, I'd be hard pressed to guess that the state's going to find the executive committee is going to find the ability. What would be your second best? Posting twice a day, posting once a day?
I'll get to that in
These
just a
are we
second.
can hold. Okay. Because we don't have the infrastructure for this.
Well, the beauty of it is you can schedule those posts. So you could do it the night before.
Oh,
You're
it's scheduled for release?
9, 10 p.m. Yeah, there's a little thing that looks like a clock on the bottom left of every post as the page. You click on that, it asks you what year you want it to be posted, what month, what day, what hour, what minute, and they're 10-minute blocks. So you can post something at 9 o'clock or 9:10 or 9:20, 9:30, 9:40, 9:50, 10 o'clock. Those are you basically have 7 shots in an hour
Okay, that's interesting.
to post
How
things.
far ahead can you post it?
You can post things 6 months ahead.
So you can post things,
Yep,
like a terminal wheel, person can post things post-mortem?
yep. Well, now a person can't, but a page can. So that's the scheduling thing. Scheduling thing is probably what
Yeah.
if you can get 1 or 2 people, and the beauty of the scheduling is you click the activity log on the page if you're an admin, and you can see who's already got stuff scheduled. So if you have multiple people doing it, which is the way we used to do it before we did a kind of more labor specialization, where we had multiple people, there was the girl that took over Facebook from not posting at all to posting almost exclusively from me. We did that over the course of a month, where we just kind of brought her in. But when we were both posting at the same time, we had to look at the activity log because we didn't want her to post something at 9:40 and then me to post something at 10 o'clock.
Right.
So usually the activity log, which is a really easy thing to do under the edit page, you'll see use activity
Sure.
log and you can see what's going on. Okay, so we have the day schedule. Now the night schedule. From 6 p.m. to 10:30 p.m., you should be posting about between 60 and 90 minutes between posts. Probably closer to the 60, but you can you don't want to have it exactly 60 minutes because then people kind of figure out that you're scheduling stuff. You also want to avoid on the hour and on the half because it looks like you're just kind of posting things because this is the schedule that somebody told me at something that I went to in Denver. They said I should post every 90 minutes. So I'm going to start at 8 o'clock in the morning, then I'm going to have one at 9:30, then I'm going to have one at 11, then I'm going to have one at 12:30. People are going to get that pattern and they're going to figure out that it's not really as engaging.
What about viewer exhaustion? What about message exhaustion?
Nope. No such thing.
You've seen no degradation in the amount of clicks through, the amount of
Nope.
time people will engage in it.
Nope. It's all content driven.
Well, I get that, but for
I think
example,
that can
I
happen
joined
for a
the
person though.
Yeah, I joined the Tea Party for a little while, and all of a sudden I'm getting literally 10, 15 emails a day. I had to quit. I
Yeah,
shut them down. It
but-
was burnout because I
Right.
couldn't.
But you couldn't separate your email from the important things.
Well, I guess the question is, does the average person do the same thing? Do they see an email as different than your Facebook's?
Yes.
Do they start?
Yes. Yeah.
Will they begin scrolling
Yes.
over for too often?
I don't
the
see
exhaustion
them
side of this, or do we still maintain attention if it's
because
driven enough?
Facebook is giving them pieces
Right.
here and there. They're not seeing absolutely every post unless they're one of those 10 or 11 people that's liking everything.
Right.
Those 10 or 11 people, as they get more engaged, are going to see, I see absolutely everything that LPIN posts. I see absolutely everything that LPNC posts. I see absolutely everything LP Texas posts. Of course, I see everything that LP Georgia posts because I'm liking all of them. And so they think that I'm super engaged. They also know that I'm an admin on the page, obviously, because I'm posting some of that stuff as well. So the user exhaustion that you're worried about should only be among the people you know that are already committed.
Okay.
Because they're going to be the ones that see it, and Facebook is just going to kind of parse it out.
Right.
They're not going to see every post because nobody's on their, hopefully, no one is sitting there at their computer watching Facebook all day and seeing that you had 14 posts from 8 a.m. to 10:30 p.m. You don't really want to do anything after 10:30. West Coast, you guys could probably do, California's big enough, but if you're Central or Mountain Time, stick with your East Coast schedule. Because, television is set on that, people's schedules are set on that.
Right.
It's an easy way to do it, so I would say give a preference to your East Coast time. But stuff after 10:30 becomes less political and more, if you have something really funny, you want to post something snarky, you know, your later night is better because you're going to get more traffic for it than you would, say, if you posted it at 10:30 in the morning. Because people aren't really looking for that in the morning. That's one of those, before I go to bed, I gotta share this, it's so funny, ha ha ha, and they click share. The other thing that I see some states not do well is the engagement in comments. We are so quick, either as individuals, and I've seen pages do this, speaking on behalf of the party, fighting with somebody on Facebook. All right, if you find yourself ready to post something because somebody said, oh yeah, the libertarians never win, blah, 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 let your supporters talk to that person. But don't post as the executive director or the chairman or the vice chair, or heaven forbid, use the page and post and fight with this guy. Because you're just going to get drawn into that long internet battle. Hold on, honey. We've all seen that picture. Hold on, honey. There's somebody wrong on the internet. Well, it's a never-ending battle because either you give up or they give up.
And I think we've all been there.
Right.
Don't feed the trolls.
Encourage the people that you know are going to be engaged, that are already committed, to post positive comments. Not go after Matt because he said, well, we're never going to get rid of the IRS because it's blah, 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 blah. Yeah, we will. We just need to end it now. And then you just get in a back and forth. And you even see it internally, you know, because we are kind of famous for having some factions where some people want stuff to happen now and some people want it to happen over time because they realize you can't just stop what's going on right now.
Well, that's what you get on the blogs quite often, is that back and forth argument.
Right.
And the way that you stop that...
You never comment on your own blog. Never.
Never. Right. You said what you have to say up top, and then you let the rest, if you want to
Be
comment.
positive, thank people for, talking about it and sharing it.
Great
but
point, John. Thank you.
yeah, you never get into an argument.
But if you're on someone else's blog
Yep.
post, and you get into it, one of the keys is to remember that you're not going to pull somebody completely across an argument, nor are you going to change minds. People's minds don't want to be changed. They never want to be changed. But they will be expanded by a new idea. And so you want to only introduce the idea as quickly as possible. Anything over a half a paragraph won't get read by the vast majority of people.
You're talking from a comments perspective.
Right, from a comments perspective.
Yep. Yeah, you see, I've seen them where you think, oh, well, they're coming to the end of the point of their comment is coming.
Yeah.
So you click see more because you're like 4 or 5 lines in, and you just got to see what those last couple words are, and it ends up that it's like 6 paragraphs. You got to scroll down, scroll down, scroll down. Yeah, I've stopped bothering with comments. The community's gonna, very libertarian, like the community's gonna police itself.
Right.
Because you're going to have people, you're going to have detractors.
I think the community site, the comment section is very good because what happens is you'll get people who defend your post, or who come behind and add to your post, and it adds to our legitimacy when people say that we're not the only ones thinking in this manner.
Right.
And I've had that on a couple of different ones. We had a case where we're building a bridge over the St. Croix, and there was a scandal with one of the contractors who didn't get the bid. The other bid was $6 million more because they hire more minority workers.
Okay.
And there was a lady who made this, beautiful post. This is bullshit. You should hire the best of the best. It shouldn't be about this stuff. And she says, I'm starting to come around. And I said, I'm starting to see maybe I shouldn't be on the Democrats. And I said, try libertarian. And she says, well, I saw. But the guy comes behind and says, listen. Look at the way they're looking at these things. This is a different way of seeing the world. And what you're starting to question is this value that they bring. They're actually, so there is a lot of value to commenting. I keep trying to tell people that I work with in my party, in the state party, ladies and gentlemen, we need to be on blogs, we need to be posting, we need to be putting our face out there. Facebook is really great, and this is one big part of it because it allows us to get at the sheeple.
Yep.
And I hate that word sheeple, but they're sheep. They are shut down, they are going to walk the line unless they're confronted with information.
But you're not calling them sheep.
So you're not calling them
sheep. Good. Just making sure.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
But you're accessing them in a way that we have to find that warm corner that they can pick up on, and that's what people are looking for.
We have to make a connection with somebody. Thank you. We do. We do have to make that connection with somebody. Whether it is a witty post on Facebook, whether it is a fantastically written article that ends up as an op-ed, we need to make a connection with somebody somehow, and then we build on that connection. We're so used to because we've been fighting so much. We're so used to fighting that we continue it even when we shouldn't.
Well, and part of that too, though, that I've been encouraging people, and I do it quite often, is that when you're reading blog posts and you're commenting, anytime you see something, of course, it's always the Democrats, and this isn't, and I'm not picking on their ideology per se, but I'm picking on their thinking, the way they think. Look for people who use very explosive words, liars, evil, these, Koch brother lovers, right?
Ignore them.
No. Shun them. Openly post. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the problem in the discord of our politics. It is these words that anger us, that drive emotion instead of thoughtful perspective on what's going on. Post that to every one of those that you see and get these people to stop with the emotion, because that's all they're using to drive their agenda. And when you remove the emotion, when you point it out, they stop. They stop. And if they don't, and they go deeper, then people see it more clearly, and it defeats anything they say anywhere else within this. We have to defeat the emotional side of these arguments.
Is that working?
Absolutely.
I actually find the opposite to be the case.
I'd like to see what you.
I'll show you an example of it. I'll see if I can yank him over. Go ahead.
But I actually see the opposite, because think about this for the guys, and I'm going to use Team R and Team D because it's easy pickings, okay? So you go to a Romney rally when he's running for president. He has all these facts and figures about all of these things that he's going to do with his plans, and he's got this, that, and the other. It's very fact-based, very little emotion. He doesn't show a connection with the people that are in the audience. And people walk away from that, yeah, they're already Team R, they're already Romney, but they don't remember anything that he said. They don't remember anything at all. They don't remember, except for the 47% thing, but that was kind of blown out of proportion, all right? So people aren't going to remember those facts and figures, because you have to look at that data 3, 4, 5 times before you really have it sink in and you're able to use it.
Mm-hmm.
You guys are getting, honestly, the Facebook part of a class that I teach. That's $2,000 for 2 days. You guys are getting it for being here. All right, so the other side.
Immense amount, by the way. Thank you very much.
The other side is Team D. In Obama's speech, he talks about feelings, and he talks about connections, and he uses very specific language that's used to elicit that emotion. And the people that leave that rally are the ones that are going to remember how they felt. And they have that connection to the person that made them feel that way. And so you've always heard that Democrats fall in love, Republicans fall in line. Okay, well the reason that they fall in love is because that's what people want to do. Republicans aren't, and we're just as bad as Republicans in terms of facts and logic, and we've got the logical answer in it. Yeah, that's great. But until you're able to connect and you're able to elicit an emotion from somebody, and this can happen in your Facebook post, and I'll give you an example in just a little bit about a change in the way that we did things. I talked about the transition. But the idea is you leave them with a connection with you. They're going to remember how they felt when they read that, when they heard that, when they saw that.
Let me make this. You're absolutely right. Let me amend what I said, because you're absolutely right. I mean, there has to be an emotion. We need to go after the people who are assertive about their emotional response.
Yeah. You're talking about the caustic people who are...
people who,
and we need to stay away from
that.
Right.
Those are the people that we have to point out and say, ladies and gentlemen, it's not wrong to have, to care. And we want to, and to share that we want to care. But we need to point these people out and shun them so that we can change the tone of the conversation.
Mm-hmm.
We need to talk about caring, not about hating. And they want to point hate.
Yep.
So that you just said about the Team D and Team R.
You'll notice that I rarely use Democrat.
Right.
By the way.
I remember that was one of the things that distinguished the Ron Paul.
Yes.
And I've been doing a lot of research on values-based communicating and stuff. But he had lots of facts and figures.
Yep.
Well, not a lot, but a fair amount. But he would also talk about the higher ideals and the bigger picture, and that's why I think you saw some, especially young people.
And how often do you see a connection between a young person in their teens, 20s, and 30s connecting to somebody in their 70s?
Right, and he's this very conservative 70-year-old Christian grandpa, doctor guy, and you have these 14-year-olds, working 50 hours a week for him, making 10,000 phone calls. You know, it was interesting how he was using the Obama technology.
Yep.
It's really not his technology. It's been around
Right.
forever.
Oh yeah, Team D's been using that for years,
Right.
decades.
So this reminded just some get back to a point from maybe 10 minutes ago of that. Remember that it's social media.
Yes.
We are communicating with human beings. We have to connect with them. You know, if I want someone, you know, we have to share what's the shared value, what's the shared consciousness, what's the, you know, these aren't random word generators generated by a computer. There's actual human being, and I think if we remember that, because libertarians were, as a general rule, not great at that.
Yep.
And so we have to remember, like I said, if we're funny, people respond. That's why the funny stuff works.
Yep.
That's why the sort of the contrapositive stuff, hey, that's kind of weird, that's kind of interesting, or it's real. I mean, when you're real...
Because people are making that connection that it's a common sense observation that you're pointing out.
Right, and not so make it... And obviously different media, Twitter's a little different because it's a very compact
Right.
form and a blog, but
Yep.
we have to remember that we have to really put the human face on the LP and the Liberty movement if we want to be successful in social media.
Yep.
We can't treat it like it's not a math problem.
And we need to be
Right.
looking at essentially condensing those really awesome feel-good
Right.
speeches into bite-sized chunks, short stuff. I love auto-posting to Twitter because what it does for us is it makes that statement, whatever commentary that we have with it, it makes you shrink it down to fit.
Right.
And that's most pretty antithetical for how we work because we're so used to having all this information and
Good practice.
pointing out the logic and showing this and that and the other. You know who that works for? It works for the guys. That's why we see that. That's why it makes sense to us. Not discounting the ladies in the room, but I can tell you that when we, and I told you I talked about the transition from when I was doing the majority of the posting to when Emily, who does it now for LP Georgia, started posting, we saw a softer edge to the words that we were using. She had greater word choice. She wasn't using the same kind of buzzwords because she was bringing a different perspective to things. What I saw is on a page analytically that's 75-25 male to female, our engagement that first month as we were transitioning to her became 52-48 male to female, even though we have 3 times as many fans that are men as women. The engagement was almost even at the end of that month. Now we've seen some fluctuations and some changes since then because, you know, life happens, ebb and flow. So, but my suggestion to you as leaders in your party is to find someone who can translate this stuff who's a woman. Seriously. Because I saw then, when we had the change in engagement, we saw a change in the people who I was getting inquiries from. We saw a change in who was showing up to meetings. We saw a change in what was, you know, who was interested in us. The phone calls had a much softer voice, which was nice.
And this is the one. This is the one who runs your face.
Right now,
your
yes.
page.
Yep.
Okay.
She's in Louisiana.
No, she's in Atlanta. But so when we saw that, we're seeing now more female members. Of the 9 new members in my local affiliate from January to now, 6 of them are women. You know, for the most part, I would say that we're probably 80-20 in most state affiliates. Approximately, that's about what Georgia is. That's about what national is.
What male to female?
Male to female, yeah.
Yeah.
4 to 1, 3 to 4 to 1, yeah.
That's an improvement, but it's not enough.
No, it's not. And that's the thing. We have to figure out how to connect. And it's not because we're looking for a specific demographic, but we do have to be thinking about balance. Because we have to have, right now, the executive committee in Georgia has more female members than it's ever had. A lot of that has to do with the engagement and the things that we're doing to be a little softer. Because let's face it, we're kind of abrasive old white guys. I mean, I'm willing to point that out. I'm not old, but I am a white guy. I try not to be abrasive, but I know there are times where I've broken some of the things that I would say. I look back at some of the things that I said in a comment thread, like 2, 3, 4 years ago, and I'm like, wow, what was that guy doing? Who is that guy? I would never say that now. So it's just got, this is all, the basis of this is we have to have a conversation. And we're the ones that are initiating it with the things that we're pointing out. We need to have that conversation, and it needs to be something that's engaging that people want to listen to. And then we'll start recruiting them. Rich?
It's funny you notice that, because I've always been checking our Facebook engagement, and it's always, for years, been 60-40 female.
Wow.
And I think, and I was just trying to figure out that, from what you just said, that seems kind of odd. And I thought, okay, is it more women on Facebook? But we're talking liberty stuff, so probably
Right.
different. And I think one of the reasons is that it's been a very conscious decision on my part, is to focus on the moral case for liberty. And I think that, because that cuts through a lot of stuff, and that may just be language that women are responding to more. And just naturally, it's that they're hearing, their words more than.
Sure.
So maybe it's just something I think we need to do. It's a tougher case to poke at.
Yep.
And it's a stronger case to make. So I'm just wondering if it just sort of unconsciously, if that was something I stumbled upon. But yeah, it's been pretty consistent, like 60-40.
What is your fan breakdown? Is it about the same as your engagement?
No, it's probably 60-40 men.
Okay.
But
Which is surprising, because when I went to the LP Social Managers group on Facebook and asked, everybody was talking about 75-25.
my state's always had a very even balance in all the liberty groups.
Sure.
So just maybe it's a cultural thing. But I did check once in a while. I'm like, why are they're not necessarily posting
Yeah.
a lot more, or not necessarily coming to meetings more, but you're seeing, it was interesting, the engagement on the the demographic chart.
So to get back to Bob's question about frequency and user exhaustion,
Yes.
I don't think that there is one on social media unless you're just constantly posting, like literally every couple of minutes
Right.
for hours at a time. Yeah, you're going to exhaust people, but if you spread that out. The reason that I say there is no point of user exhaustion is not just because Facebook kind of divvies it out how they think their customers, or not even really customers, their product wants to see that kind of content.
Mm-hmm.
But you're also seeing that, where was I going? So with that, you're trying to hit that point where they're upset enough about something to seek something different. So you've got a link about Benghazi. Maybe they don't care about that, but they do care about wiretapping and Fourth Amendment protections, and that's what's going to get them off the couch. That's what's going to get them joining a party or donating or becoming. You're always trying to you always want to have something out there so that when they're so pissed off about something, because let's face it, that's how most of us kind of came to the party, was we got so frustrated with government, with Team D, Team R, whatever it is, we got upset about it. So.
Right.
We just need to capitalize on those opportunities when that's what's going on. So, questions about Facebook before I move on? Yes, sir.
You may have seen me raise this question also in the social media managers group,
Mm-hmm.
whatever. But so if we're talking big L instead of like Team Liberty, and we're talking RNC instead of Team R and DNC instead of Team D, if we're sharing content from, let's say, for example, Cato, things like that. If you look at the DNC or the RNC pages, they're not sharing content from Planned Parenthood or Heritage. They're making their own stuff that's strictly Big R branded, strictly Big D branded.
I think that's a mistake.
I kind of see it as if you're the Big L instead of a libertarian small L Facebook page that can share that stuff. I was just wondering where we draw the line between promoting the party versus promoting the ideas.
Well, your interaction on Facebook is to get people hooked, right? You want them thinking, wow, these guys really know what they're talking about. I'm really aligning with what they're doing. They're making a lot of sense to me. whether you're talking about the party, again, we're talking about a mixture of things. And we're posting 10 things from other people for every one thing that's me, right? So the cool part is the one thing that's me gets mixed in with those 10. And so people are going to start to see that you have a happy hour, or that you have a business meeting, or that you're going to be at an outreach booth, or whatever you're setting up. They're going to see the documentation of your activities. When we were at our convention, gosh, I probably had 400 pictures to go through, and we only posted like 45. But we had so many opportunities because I had somebody whose sole job for 2 days was to walk around and take pictures of people. Take pictures of different pairings, different groupings, action shots, pose things, kind of the candid stuff where you have a variety of things that are going on. And when they see how fun that is online, the hope is that they will find that same fun in person.
So from your, and I have no experience with this, so I'm honestly asking. So in Georgia, for example,
Yep.
when you post things from another, like a third-party page, you do see the party growing as a result of you posting non-strictly
Yes.
party. Okay.
The only thing that I've tested some things, like you saw for a while you had join the LP, LP.org
Right.
stuff at the bottom
Yeah.
that National was doing, and they
Right.
stopped.
Yeah.
You know why they stopped?
No, I have no idea.
I pointed out that no one wants to share that heavily branded stuff, but you can still get the same positive oomph in social media if they click share on something that isn't necessarily branded. Also, when you're sharing something from Young Americans for Liberty or Cato, they know that you're doing it, and they'll start looking at your stuff in the same way that we were talking about with retweets and stuff on Twitter, which we'll get to in a little bit. They're engaged with what you're doing because they see it. They see that you're sharing their content, because if you're looking at why did something I post get 567 likes and 1,000 shares? Well, because you're getting those secondary and tertiary shares. So maybe it was that I shared it, or the party shared it, then I shared it, then there was somebody that I'm friends with that liked it, they shared it, and then there's a group that they're involved in, they thought it was a good fit for their page, and they shared it, and they got bigger. And of course, we're seeing that with National, where they're asking us to send stuff to them to promote for us, which is great, because it's helping build some of these things. About a month ago, LP Georgia had a bigger reach than LP National. It was about a day, but still, I mean, there are 300,000, 400,000 fans on Nationals. We've got 5,600 in Georgia. But our reach in terms of the number of people that were seeing our name, and again, we're not good at that branding and getting people to just see us, because we're so used to having to fight for that stuff. Well, now we're getting, the name is out there. We've been helped a lot by other people who are using more of the small L libertarian, but it's still helping the idea of the message. Because essentially we're fairly close when it comes to ideals. We've just chosen a different vehicle to get there. So, yes?
We've been talking mostly about pages.
Yes.
And LPNM has 2 groups.
Okay.
And one of the problems, and one of the groups is a solution to a problem that seems to happen a lot in groups on Facebook, and that is a couple people take it over,
Yeah.
and they're the only ones who are posting and discussing.
Sure.
And they tend to be acerbic, especially in libertarian
Right.
stuff. Is that why the focus should be more on pages, or is there something to be done with groups too?
There are good things to be done with groups. I use them more for a planning distribution of information to the people that need to know, more so than a place for conversation.
Okay. So
Now,
the page is the place for conversation.
the page is the place for conversation because you want people to engage your content. Because when they're liking and they're commenting and they're sharing, it helps boost that post. And it helps, their friends then see, I don't, if you guys see the Facebook, the meme that came out with, what's the guy that did the Pimp Your Ride show? Exhibit. He had you saw the meme that came out where he said, yeah, now you can Facebook while you Facebook on your Facebook. Because you have that feed that goes on, because it says Matt liked this, and Caroline liked this, and Rich liked this, and Elisheva commented on this. Right, that's fantastic, because every time that happens, it means that their network is seeing that they're engaging with things that are happening. They may not, it may take 3, 4, 100 times that they see something like that before they'll click and they'll click like, but we're getting to it. And there is a critical mass at about 3,000 fans on Facebook where you really start to see exponential growth in your fans, in your shares, and in your engagement. But you have to have a steady stream of content to do that. If you want to make it so that you only post once a day, that's fine. But just make sure you're consistent in it. I suggest posting more often because, like I said, we're trying to get that point. We're trying to reach them when they're upset about something so that they're going to look at us.
Right.
So, but if you can't put the time in, you don't have the manpower, the resources to do it, then okay, fine. Just be consistent once a day, about the same time. And I would choose the evening because that's when most people have come home from work. They're sitting down on their computer. You don't want other pages to really share your stuff because other pages aren't really helping you in terms of growing the organization. You're looking at people. And that's who you want to share. That's why I say if you're going to post the once a day, that's the consistency that you're comfortable with. Do it in the evening between 6 and 10:30.
Yeah, I found especially on Twitter, posting every day, if you can just do that, it keeps you're in that mind share, more people. If you start, once you drop off on Twitter, like 2 days, you don't exist anymore.
Right.
So yeah, just even if you just do it, okay, in the morning I'm going to do it before I start work or when I get home, just something, even if it's a retweet.
Yep.
Twitter's easy.
Like we're getting to Twitter.
You just briefly talk about paid ads. Paid ads?
I hate them.
Paid ads, you hate them?
I hate paid ads, and I'll tell you why. A paid ad where you show up, not in the Facebook on your Facebook while you Facebook thing, but that little column that's to the right of that, where they're trying to get you to go to medical school, or not medical school, they want you to be a medical coder, or they want you to...
Trekkie dating.
Right. Right. Yep. Well, that has something to do with your profile. Because I don't see those. So yeah, the paid ads, honestly, I don't find that they're worth it. Because you can do much more and have a far greater impact with a sponsored story.
Well, I meant just in general, anything that you're paying for. So not specifically...
So yeah, the ads I hate. But a sponsored story is something that you can do very inexpensively. Let's say you have the Launch 2014 thing in Waco, and you have that event. All right, so let's sponsor a story about that event that's going to show up in people's feeds. $10. A $10 investment is probably going to get you 10,000 eyeballs. So it's going to show up as the suggested post or the sponsored story kind of thing in people's feeds that are like friends of your fans. Or if you set the demographic to, 18 to 42 that are in the Waco area or, within an hour of Waco, and, they have things where they're talking about liberty or they're at least interested in politics, at the very least. I mean, you can get a pretty good group. I would probably say that you could probably get 200,000 people that fit that demographic that I just described in the Waco area, and that's who you're wanting to reach because you want people that are close by that are interested in politics to come and find out about what you guys are doing for 2014. Sponsored posts is a very inexpensive way to really hyper target who you want to show up. When we're going to Augusta Pride, am I going to have something in the Atlanta area about that? Absolutely not. It's 3 hours away. I don't care about my Atlanta people seeing it. I want to see people in Augusta that are friends with my fans in Augusta. And, part of South Carolina, all along the Savannah River. Those are the people that I want to see it. And I know it's very specific that I want that. We gave away, I know that you guys probably all have stacks and stacks and stacks of the Gary Johnson bumper stickers that say "Live Free" on the right side. All right, Do you get anybody have one of those?
Exacto.
Nah, yeah, it's yeah, cutting board. We used to have them in elementary schools. Now it's too dangerous. If anybody has one of those, cut off all the Gary Johnson stuff, and you can give those away. To Live Free, You Are a Libertarian. We used a Facebook sponsored post that cost us about $30, I think, over the life of the campaign. That was going to people who were friends of fans. And we used that to build a list of people to target, to try to reach out to for, join the party, come to this event, that kind of thing, where we were just giving away the sticker. It cost, the stickers were essentially free. There was a cost of mailing, there was the cost of the labor, there was the cost of the materials. But we were looking at about, I think we figured out it was 70 cents a piece for prospecting. And these are hot leads. You're not cold calling these folks. You're not sending to a list that you purchased. These are people that are genuinely engaged.
Right.
So, it was an opportunity for us to help build our contact list. And, we'll talk about CRMs and stuff and how to manage that. There are sessions later, but it really gave us an opportunity to talk to people, to have people we knew were engaged with what we were doing and were interested, and it gave us their email address, it gave us their mailing address, it gave us their phone number. Those are 3 really key pieces of information. At first we did it Georgia specific, then we opened it up afterward, but we focused on that promotion with one sponsored post. And like I said, we sent out about 600 stickers.
So the sponsored post, I did a sponsored post during the campaign, and they showed up as ads. They didn't show up in the feed.
It's listed as an ad. It's a type of ad to do a sponsored link.
Yeah, so but you just said it shows up in the feed. They were always in the ad column, and it just said sponsored posts.
Right now on your page, you should see, I talked about the little, after it's posted, or even before it's posted, I talked about the clock.
Yeah.
And then you have the target, so that you guys can target who you're trying to go to. Like if you have something, an event like the Waco thing, you can really capitalize on the fact that you're looking at that geographic area, or you're looking at women for a women's, a Ladies of Liberty event or whatever. You can really target that, but on the right, you'll see promote, and it's got like a bullhorn.
Okay.
And it's specific to that post.
Right, and I've seen that, but it always shows up in the ad column. I've never
That's
seen it.
weird.
I've never seen it show up in the feed.
I've seen them show up both.
Yeah, I've seen them show up in both.
Well,
And it just has to be the way.
Everyone
the
I've
way you
ever
did it.
done it, like for the political campaign, it's like I don't care. I need to get my candidates seen.
Right.
And so
Well, it may not be hitting your own feed though, in your.
Right. Yeah, it won't.
No, I looked at what other
people
people just to make sure it was showing up.
Right.
And
Are you excluding fans of?
and I had a problem with Facebook saying, "Hey, I already like this guy. Don't waste the feed." And I was looking at other people, and I saw, this is a sponsored story from a friend, and I said it was in the far right ad column.
That's weird.
It didn't show up because if it would just show up in the regular feed, that'd be awesome.
Yeah.
that was much higher engagement.
Absolutely, because
I've never seen
ad
that.
block and everything run. I don't see ads on the right side of my page.
Yeah, I've never seen that on a sponsored post.
We'll talk about it a little bit later. I'll bring my my Chromebook down, and I'll show you how I set them up.
Yeah, maybe I missed a step.
Yeah, it may have just been
Facebook
a
changed
step
how
by
they did their
step.
ads.
Yeah, they
like a year ago.
Facebook changes everything every day. There's always something new and different. So you had something you wanted to.
No, when you're all done, I brought this up as an example of that. So in this one, in this example, and this anonymity on these blogs is what gets people to do this, which allows us then to be able to respond. And so I just quoted this guy after this, destroy, nail and coffin, Walker's hater, and just tell these people, all these statements are proof that the propaganda pulls the sensible discussion out of the realm. When you start doing this, telling people, hate, disgrace, destroy, nail, these do not propel understanding. We need to shun these people in these blog posts and get them to stop using these words. Now, words that we should use are words like we want to help, we care about.
Yeah.
We think that there's compassion in what the governor's attempting, although he is failing at the end result.
Sure.
It's how we position these, and these words are the words the Democrats use to strike up the other Democrats. These are just angering the Republicans. They're not helping them.
Right.
They're using them to strike up the Democrats. So we have to stop striking up the Democrats so they come down to the level of rational thinking. They can still care, But we need to then be the people who control how we talk about caring by using words that are softer and better.
Now, when I see something just like this that you were quoting
Yeah.
from the guy, my first thought is troll.
You know what?
And I don't
If I didn't post enough on this blog, I would agree with you wholeheartedly. But I actually post blogs on this blog itself.
Sure.
So I'm
Sure,
known
you're
as
part of that
the
community.
libertarian chair and all this. And this is so this is trying to change the conversation out there to keep people engaged, because it's interesting. There are many, many people out there that are blogging more and more that are libertarian leaning, but still red team. And so if they see us as the libertarian choice or the reasonable choice and a different way to address these.
What's funny is I'm actually working on something. I don't know if you guys read the things that I put out. I know Matt does, because I make sure Matt reads them, because he and I are friends outside of politics. But I write a lot of things about how to be a better libertarian, and one thing that I'm working on right now is, hey, you step away from the damn keyboard. And it's not so much because of this specifically, what I'm talking about. It's because I'm tired of seeing people that are just keyboard jockeys blogging from their mom's basement when they could be at our events, and they could be spreading the word, and they could be working for our candidates, and they could be volunteering for us. But instead they think, yes, there is value to the internet.
Yes.
But they place way too much. There are way too many libertarians who place way too much value on internet communication, when you're going to be able to do a whole lot more face-to-face, in a group, actually doing something. Because remember, we keep hearing, I don't know how to get involved because I don't know what you guys are doing. What are you doing? Are you doing
Which
something?
is why events are so important, and I haven't
Exactly.
taken that on yet, and I need to, because it's definitely one of those parts.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right, so last chance on questions about Facebook. We're running right about where I thought we would end with that. All right, so the next thing I want to talk about a little bit is some integration of other things. We talked about Facebook events a little bit earlier and promoting things. I used the example for your panel that's upcoming. There are, and this was the suggestion that I had for Caroline and Pat when they were talking about this forum that's coming up. Does anybody use an event manager system? I don't mean Evite, because that doesn't count. I mean something like Eventbrite, something like along those lines. You guys do?
We use the Civi CRM.
Hate Meetup.
I don't like it.
Meetup sucks.
We've used the Civi CRM meeting, the event plugin for that.
Okay. But, I mean, what does that give you?
Well, basically every time somebody registers, you've got all their contact information right there in your database. So, hey, now you're on our email list.
All right. So for everybody who's not on Civi CRM, because George is not, I can tell you, we use Eventbrite for, I have volunteer days. I have a seminar that I do that I stole from Indiana called LP 101. When there's an event happening, I use Eventbrite in coordination with Facebook. I use Facebook to have an event that can be shared, use the buy tickets option, obviously say at the very beginning, hey, this is a free event. I always put that in capital letters. This is a free event. Just click the buy tickets thing. It takes you to the Eventbrite page and it gets you the information. It gives you the opportunity to email them. You set the reminders for 24 hours before or 48 hours before to let them know, hey, you did this. But the cool part about using something like Eventbrite, I think most of us are probably using PayPal as a payment processor. If we're not, we can figure out a different way to use that. But right now you're looking at the dominant services in the market that are free or very low cost or very low setup. So
Can I set up a PayPal and then link it into my Eventbrite if I do it?
yes, that's exactly what I was getting to.
Can you do that with GoToMeeting as well?
I don't know. I don't use GoToMeeting. I'm not a big
Eventbrite's
fan.
free. GoToMeeting's not free, that's why I asked.
Right. Eventbrite is free. You can set up custom URLs. For example, when we did when we have our June 1st volunteer day, it is literally June1volunteerday.eventbrite.com. You give them all the information about it. You're able to put a map on there. You can embed like the video that I talked about, how not to run a libertarian outreach booth, because the focus of our volunteer day is how to actually do it the right way. In addition to having the free tickets and knowing who's going to be there, to make sure you have enough materials, to make sure there are actually going to be people showing up, because if they're going to go through the few steps that are there, they're probably going to show up. It's still free.
Right.
The beauty of it is you can add an additional ticket type beyond the freebie event that's connected to your PayPal that allows them to contribute. So when I do an LP 101 or a volunteer day or whatever it is I'm using Eventbrite for, if I'm paying for the space, like let's say I'm at a library that requires that I pay $50 to use their meeting room for 2 hours. Can you grab the door? There will be people who will give me $5, $10, $20, $25 because they like the idea enough, and it'll be your party faithful that show up to some of these introductory events that will help support that. And it's just another ticket type. You're already doing all this other work, and it's just like, it's a trickle of money, but I've never had to pay out of the LP Georgia Treasury for a venue because of what we're able to get from Eventbrite. It helps us cover materials costs. You know, I raised a bunch of money for the kickoff of LP 101, never had to pay for any of the venues, so we were able to use that to do more materials. We were able to shift some of that money to a different budget line item, and because we already had people that were paying for the stuff that we were doing, and it becomes self-sustaining. So, you know, that's an opportunity, and that was what I was telling them. Hey, just set up an Eventbrite. It's free to have an account. It's free to post stuff there. Yeah, the piece of the pie that you're getting is going to be smaller than if it was directed through PayPal or through your website, because Eventbrite's going to take their piece too, but it's only on the money stuff. But if you're getting $4.50 from a $5 donation, or $0 because you didn't offer that contribution, are you going to take the $4.50 over nothing? I would. So that's one of the integration things that I like to have on there. I also like to use I talked a little bit about email, newsletter kind of stuff. I'm a big fan of MailChimp. They're a fantastic opt-in only. That's the hard part. You have to make sure, unless you're transferring a list, opt-in only for the people that are coming in. You can't just, say, oh, look, I found these 3 pages of people's email addresses and their names, and I'm going to put them in my database. Well, yeah, they didn't opt into it. So, but utilize those newsletter services. They have auto-posting features. The great thing about MailChimp is if your mailing list is less than 2,000 people, it's free. You pay nothing. When you hit that 2,001st member, as JJ knows, they send you a notification that says, hey, you're adding this person, you need to upgrade your account. We just went through that with North Carolina, where we had to upgrade because our list was growing, which is a good thing. So,
excuse me, just a minute.
Yeah, no problem.
Can you clarify, is it Eventbrite or
Eventbrite.
Right.
EVENTBRITE.com.
Okay, spelled wrong.
Yep, spelled wrong. Yes.
They all did that.
Yes. Well, because you're trying to get the right URL.
Oh, just BRIT.
Yeah, BRIT. So, but you're utilizing some of these other services. Most of them are free that you can integrate into what you're already doing. That counts as your one of your me posts for the 10 that you're doing elsewhere. Now, moving on to Twitter. I know Rich uses it a lot. I know Georgia uses it a lot. Again, we have somebody whose sole focus is doing additional content beyond what's auto-posted from Facebook. And they're also, and this is where you're going to have to find the right person who does a very good job of not being that caustic or acerbic individual. They're not going to get into a fight. This is your true peacemonger who they'll let the insults roll off their back. That's the person you want to handle this because they're going to be the ones that are conversing.
Sure.
And again, I'm just giving you what we do because it's an opportunity for you guys to see how we've been successful in becoming, one of the highest liked pages on Facebook among libertarian affiliates. So we have about 5,600 people that like us on Facebook. We have about 4,100 or so that follow us on Twitter. And again, we're auto-posting the same content from Facebook to Twitter, but then we do some additional stuff that's Twitter only so that there is added value for people who already like you on Facebook. So now they're getting it however they choose. They know that Twitter will have everything that you posted from Facebook and then some, but there are people that that Twitter doesn't work for them. They don't understand it, they don't get it, they don't want to worry about it, so they just work with what they do know, which is Facebook. So with Twitter, I said this is the one where you can broadcast a little more. You can be a little more me than you are. I still like to keep that ratio, but when you're looking at engagement, you may have somebody, let's say I'm doing something in Blue Ridge, Georgia. And let's say JJ lives in the southwest corner of North Carolina. They're about 30 minutes apart. He could drive down and he wants to find out about the event. You're able to give that give and take conversation in at replies. He may share some of the things that you're saying to his friends that are nearby in southwest North Carolina to come to this event in Georgia because we're doing the Liberty Summit in Blue Ridge. Maybe that's the event. He's interested in Liberty. He's wanting to find out more. You're having that conversation one-on-one, but you're having it publicly. Try to do as much as you can publicly with at replies versus direct messages, unless it's really super personal information. Stuff you want to keep super secret. A mailing address of somebody. A phone number that, maybe they want to just talk to somebody on the phone. You don't want to give them, you're giving out your cell phone number if you don't have some sort of PBX that directs calls. You don't want that to go to everybody. So that would be kind of what you use the direct messages for. Never, ever, 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 ever have an auto direct message when somebody when somebody follows you on Twitter. It's just spammy. You can never customize it to the person, and it always feels very generic and lame. Everybody knows it's spam. They know it's automatic because they know you're not genuinely sending a direct message to everybody. Do it publicly. Hey, we've got, thanks to this person, this person, this person, this person for following us on Twitter. Utilize them in some of the things that happen with the Follow Fridays. There are trends that are happening. You saw the whole Stand with Rand thing where it was 12 hours of trending worldwide on Twitter where people were adding that pound Stand with Rand because they were talking about the drones. Yeah, we may not, we were talking a little bit about this the other day. I think it was last night. It's not, Rand Paul is, we can love the sinner but hate the sin. He may have some bad things, but we need to praise on the good things. We need to do that with other people. There may be, maybe Lindsey Graham does something. Maybe we say something nice for all the 20, 30 bad things we said about him. But, it's going back to that principle of love the sinner, hate the sin. We're doing that same kind of a thing. Well, in the Stand with Rand stuff, he was talking about an issue that we should all be super interested in. He was talking about drone use in the United States, and he had a very specific question. I was really involved. Unfortunately, that day I had a full day with school board, and I was literally went from 8:30 in the morning until 11 o'clock at night and didn't get to see any of the stuff on C-SPAN until I got home. But at 11 o'clock, I started with the Stand with Rand and posting things on there because that's an opportunity for us to get involved in a conversation that's already existing. Now, it has to be something that's relevant. You don't want to, unless you're Rupert, talk about Survivor, or you're me, I talk about Survivor, but I don't talk about politics on Survivor. But you don't want to focus, you don't want to interject your politics in a non-political hashtag. Because then you're just a spammer. People are going to see right through it, they're not going to have anything to do with it. But you have, Benghazi, if that was a thing, you can talk about what's going on. You can give a libertarian opinion as an individual and as your page. So, and one of the cool parts about having the, multiple people who are interested in spreading the message social media-wise, you take the official party account and you have 7 or 8 people that are retweeting a lot of these things. They don't have to retweet everything, but that, the stuff that's not specific to Facebook or, if you guys only do Twitter, it helps spread. And as the numbers kind of go, you'll see it mushroom. And that's the key, is to have people that are engaged, that are automatically doing it. You can game almost any social network by having a core group of even less than 10. I was able to game Dig with 4 people. We all had 2 accounts, and we were just able to game Dig or Reddit or whatever. We were able to get content out there. After a while, people figured out, okay, well, there's these 4 people that are really doing it. But it got, it got things going, it got the conversation started, and it got a lot of cred. I don't know if you guys know about Reddit, but you kind of get a rating as a user. Reddit is a social news site where you post links and engage in conversation. But what you're able to do is, as that score grows, you see that little in parentheses next to the username, you have clout. And then people start to respect what you're doing because the stuff that you're doing is other people are talking about. You know, again, it's not just the me stuff. Because if you do that, then no one cares. But if you're talking about, you know, what's going on UnitedLiberty.org, or, you know, they've got a really great post, or there's something that's awesome on the Daily Caller that you want to share that fits with the ideology, that's a great way. You're sharing other people's stuff. You can do the Learn Liberty stuff the same way. It all goes back to getting people engaged that are going to share your stuff immediately, because that's when things take off. So Twitter works the same way. It's just that you have a much shorter conversation piece. You have 140 characters, and I actually say keep it at 120 because it'll make it. Well, the old way was there are still people that use the old retweet method where you do RT at blah 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 blah. So I try and keep my messages at 120 characters or less, so that even the people that are doing retweeting the old school way are sharing that information.
So do you have a state party subreddit? Or?
No. We were just doing things in the R politics and the R liberty, R libertarian stuff.
Do you think there'll be a point where we should start looking into subreddits?
You know, I think Reddit is tough to gauge about where they're going. I thought Dig was going to be the one that beat Reddit in
You're
terms
not
of
Mr.
sharing.
Baby Man, are you?
Huh?
You're not Mr. Baby Man, are you?
Okay. I am not. But to give you an example of something that I was able to do personally for something that I wrote during the special election for Scott Brown, it actually ended up that the thing that I wrote analyzing the race ended up higher in Google because there was so much traffic going there. You remember this, right? Where I predicted that Scott Brown was going to win before any poll was showing it just because I saw the trajectory. I ranked higher than his own website for that article. It was literally, on election day, was the #1 political news story. It was something that I wrote. And it was because I was using my network of 3 or 4 here and 7 or 8 there. And, you know, I wasn't as sophisticated as having groups then. It was just, hey, I wrote this. Can you help, you know, I'm trying to promote this on Reddit. Can you just go click like, because I know you've got an account because you've helped me out before, and, you know, stuff like that. So you got to have a team. That's the key. You can't have one person that does it, because one person can't do it all. And you need to specialize your labor a little bit, because there are going to be people that are better at Facebook. With that engagement, there are going to be people that are better at Twitter. There are going to be people that are better at organizing and planning what's going to be your big content. And then there are going to be people who are going to do a better job on the social news sites and things like that. Questions about Twitter. I didn't really go into basics. I assume that most of us kind of know what it's all about.
You mentioned before about getting into arguments on Twitter.
Yes.
I've never had that experience. I mean, it's usually, whenever time I've engaged on Twitter, it's usually to reinforce, you know, stuff I like. So I've never gone out. Well, no, even when I do, like whatever, our progressive senator says something stupid, but they never engage back because they don't want to acknowledge us.
Right. No, what I'm saying is when people are coming at us, and then we engage them, we engage that.
I've never had that happen.
We actually have 2 guys in Georgia. One of them is in Middle Georgia. He's a Democrat, and he thinks that a lot of the stuff that we think is absolutely wacky. I mean, having a government that fits inside the Constitution, heaven forbid. He's talking about how great government is, and he'll always have that. Wow, this is pretty wacky. That's why you guys never win elections, kind of thing. Usually, it's those folks. They're just there to pick, and they don't have anything of value to add. And those are the people that I just ignore. But what happens is there are people that get upset because, hey, let's face it, we've not really done a great job winning elections. So what they're saying is true, but that gets under our skin. So then we go back at them about this, that, or the other, and then we start to take it personal, and then it's a big fight, and and then it just goes on and on and on and on, in the same way you would in comments. But it happens on Twitter too, because there will be people who are going to be detractors no matter what. They don't want to see you succeed, so they're going to try and tear it down. don't engage them. They're just like the trolls. Don't feed them. Don't feed a troll. That's always my number one rule. Don't feed the trolls. Do not feed the trolls, because that's what they want. They're there to engage that negativity and get under your skin and show you as the bad guy.
But it's always fun to beat up on MDB.
I guess we just have to get bigger.
Yeah.
MDB.
Yeah, and that's the thing. As you get bigger, you will get those people. And eventually, yeah, there are going to be some people who never add anything of value. They're only detracting. You know what? Block them from your Facebook page. You know,
Facebook I know because it's Facebook, but on Twitter.
You can block people on Twitter too.
Okay. It's just interesting. I know people have whole. I know it's amazing how you can actually get conversations going on Twitter, which is something I didn't quite fully appreciate when I first got on Twitter. And it's interesting. I've actually built up I've got most of the major reporters in our state following our Twitter feed now.
Good.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
And hopefully they're following you personally too.
Well, we've actually one of the main political reporter for the network news tags us in all those new posts to make sure we're paying attention to them, because we actually will engage with them. So that was.
And they like that because then they're getting your perspective. So if you have something that's interesting to say, you're going to be included in their news story. You may even get an interview.
Half the time, I'm the only one who responds to his stuff.
Right.
So,
well, because you set that up, did I ask? How did you get them to subscribe to your Twitter?
Basically, well,
was it just that they saw that you were constantly posting?
I posted regularly.
Follow them?
No, I don't follow. I follow very few reporters. I follow like the TV station has a politics feed. I follow that just so I get everything. But it was mostly posting stuff like, hey, here's a story that's being ignored. Here's a solution to stuff. I did during the political campaign. I was a Twitter whore. I mean, I was just doing everything, and that really raised our profile during the campaigns because candidates are exciting. And so I think we just started getting followed because, hey, they're doing stuff.
Yep.
And so and then he was posting stuff, and I was like, hey, like so-and-so was leading in the polls. I'm like, yeah, because they have number one name recognition. So what?
Right.
And I was sort of being this sort of very matter of fact, and I think he was like, okay, at least someone's responding.
He got you, and you were engaging him.
And I was engaging
which is how he was.
And we do get, there's a few reporters I've built up a rapport with because, libertarians can say anything they want, and they will say anything they want, which makes good copy, usually, if you know how to do it. So that some reporters like us because we'll say things the Republicans, Democrats don't. So it's all about giving them information, and I was sharing stories from lots of different groups that were completely ignored. So I was sort of trying to be a news source for our members, and hopefully if the mainstream media was picking up stuff that like, hey, maybe we should check this out.
Now that's a huge part of this.
I did follow a whole bunch of news folks, both personally and on the LP Georgia Twitter when I was working to build it, before I turned it over to the other girl that works on our new media team. And so the idea was they saw that we were following them, we were retweeting stories that we thought were important, adding a little bit about that. They saw that we were retweeting that stuff and replying and being engaging, and then they started to follow us because they noticed that we were paying attention to them, and they came back and they were like, yes, that's great, awesome, yes, I love it, fantastic. So.
Well, and that's what we experienced in Wisconsin. It was, I talked to the previous chair, I was the first expansion of a libertarian affiliate in any memory. And we also all of a sudden had a Young Americans for Liberty that popped up at UW Oshkosh. And all of a sudden the Capital Times was calling the chair up and saying, I want to do an interview. Where's all this activity coming from you guys, And now it's trying to convince these old timers, it's this core that's been there forever, God bless them, but convincing them that, priority one, strategy one has to be visibility and credibility, and then we can start talking about how we want to change the state. And it's this, we have to get us to get engaged with our media in our state. That's why I'm so interested in this question of how we get them in our area.
Be interesting.
Yeah, they got to be interesting.
Be interesting. That's
be interesting.
Our four local newspapers who have been posting letters of the editor forever. When the gentleman came to our caucus and we were talking about things that we as a party could do, and one of them was blogging. I mean, he was like all saying, "Oh, you guys should get on our blogs and we can feature you." And but that's because they want something interesting. They're trying to draw. They realize that blogs are important. Unfortunately, most papers don't understand how to push your blog, and so they don't get very much engagement in the blog. Although it's really is that next part. They're okay hearing about the news, but they want someone to give them perspective on it who knows what they're talking about, and that's the power of the blog.
So to add to that, how many of you guys have Patch in your area? I know you do. I know we do all over Georgia.
I was surprised how big it was. I did not know.
Patch is a super hyper local thing. It's run by the new HuffPo AOL. It's all about hyper local news. So it's not about Atlanta, it would be about Midtown, or it would be about Marietta, or it would be about Sandy Springs. A lot of the ideas, especially if you're talking about state issues and national issues, they'll run your op-eds for you.
They run almost all of my blogs.
They'll do
once a week.
They'll do free listings of your meetings for you.
Yep.
It gives you a local voice.
And they're growing. People are really starting to pay attention to it because it's real-time news media.
Right.
And some of our other newspapers.
You're not stuck with that once a day or at, from 4 until 9 in the morning.
Right.
And 4 until 7 in the evening, and then 11 to midnight.
Right.
That kind of traditional news, they can do it anytime. They are doing live blogs of events.
Mm-hmm.
They're doing, we were fighting to legalize chickens in Cobb County where I live. Can't have a chicken on
We just started that in Hudson.
On less than 2 acres, and where I live, you can't have one on less than 5. But we were going to
Isn't that absurd?
yeah. So we were going to the meetings trying to change the ordinance, and we were the story when we had a room filled with 120 people with yellow shirts and chicken buttons. And they've been interviewed. I mean, this has been a 2-year battle.
Mm-hmm.
It's actually my vice chair at my local affiliate is the one that's been really pushing this because he got a violation for having the chickens because one of his neighbors reported it. He didn't know that you couldn't have them. So he's been working for 2 years to work on changing the ordinance and stuff. Well, we finally got to the time where they were going to vote on the proposed ordinance, and of course, I didn't think it went far enough. There were people that said, "Well, it's a step in the right direction. We'll work to make it better." But they were there live blogging a county commission meeting, which for many of you who've been to a county commission meeting know how utterly and ridiculously boring they can be.
Yeah.
But they had an audience of about 75 people who were following this live blog of what we were doing. They were recapping what the speakers were saying, and it was really neat because then the people that were watching were adding their commentary, and it's about that conversation and that engagement. And that was actually one of the ways we kind of won the hearts and minds of what was going on in the community. Most people thought that it was dumb. Well, who cares if you have chickens or not? You live in a fairly, we're pretty suburban area of Atlanta. What's funny is Atlanta has 0 restrictions as long as it's not multifamily housing.
Really?
You can have as many chickens as you want on as small of a plot as you want. You can even have goats. But in suburban Marietta, Cobb County, where I live, 2 acres was the minimum lot size.
It's so funny you bring up the topic of chickens. As an example. No, this is really funny
Always
because
get stuck with the chickens.
with my club, we're only a couple, 3-4 months old, and one of the guys said, "Wow, we got to build this core. We got to get more people," which is one of the reasons I'm really loving this conversation. And I keep trying to explain to people, listen, there's a paradigm shift happening. People are changing the way how they see and interact with their world is changing. We can help to shape that. And I had the most amazing experience about this about 2 weeks ago. Once we finally got rid of the snow, all of a sudden it's 85 degrees. My wife and I are outside. What's that?
What's
snow? Shut up.
Yeah, really.
And all of a sudden, my next door neighbor, who we have a good relationship, we've talked a couple times. We very rarely talk. All of a sudden comes over with a carton of eggs and a shirt where it says, progressives, line or destroying the country for whatever it is. And we had a really great conversation. He's raising chickens. Now, why is he raising chickens? Because there's an understanding in the underbelly of our country that economically things are going bad. And this is why it's so important to blog.
Yeah,
take the news article, tweet it, tweak your tweets to your longer blog, make your blog 3 to 4 paragraphs, make it filled with links, with ideas. I love how Zero Hedge writes in that they'll say, we talked about it here and here and here, and they'll include the links for those things so that people can go through and see that they've been talking about this. I just did this on one of mine, but this is part of that whole, this is really wonderful stuff, man. This is great. Your chicken story is really true. Why is this all of a sudden a big deal to us?
I like farm fresh eggs, that's what's big deal.
Brett,
Well, but it's that.
you're 20 minutes beyond your time.
20 minutes beyond time?
Yeah.
Oh,
I
yeah,
thought we
it's
were
12:20.
Oh, I'm sorry. My apologies. I thought I had till 12:30.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah, it's still 12:30. He's got 10 more minutes.
The agenda says 12.
The agenda says
yeah,
12.
say 12. I'm sorry, yes.
What is TANSTA?
There's no such thing.
Lunch.
There's no such thing as a free.
We're all on our own for lunch. So, all right. So, I will take any questions that you have, and if you guys want, I'm probably going to go to Subway for lunch because I don't think there's anything that's happening here that's organized. If anybody wants to carry that conversation over,
Yeah, I'd love to.
I'll be happy to do it over there.
I'd love to.
Because I loved it. Somebody's here.